What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast, the most whatever series ever, I think, that I can remember in recent memory. Played the White Sox, they won 2 games, and they lost 1, and every single game was pretty insignificant, pretty boring, really not a whole lot to talk about. I think we're going to dedicate 10 minutes of this episode to talking about the games, because there's kind of nothing to talk about besides, like, hey, played the White Sox, this happened. So we'll talk about that for about 10 minutes. We have some David Stearns quotes that he said as well. And then we're going to deep dive into the Mets hitting problems, or quotation marks hitting problems. There's some interesting stuff that we've gone in, dug up, and trying to figure out. And we're just trying to make Eric Chavez the scapegoat. I don't know. We're trying to get something going, because it doesn't make any sense when you're watching this team, how at times they hit, at times they don't. And it's always as a team, they either struggle or they succeed. So we'll talk about all of that in today's episode. Make sure you are following us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel to see the video version of this. And if you are listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. One more plug here real quick. We're giving away a Howard Johnson signed jersey for real. I'm going to tweet it out. Literally, by the time you guys hear this or watch it, the tweet will be up on our Twitter at Mets'd. You will be able to have a chance at winning this. We'll announce the winner live on the episode at the end of the week. So whichever one after the Rockies series drops, we'll announce the winner. You're going to have to make sure you're following us, retweeting, all that good stuff. Follow the rules on the tweet. Shout out Auction of Champions for the Howard Johnson jersey. Hope we can get it to someone who deserves it. That'd be great. Now, James, how you feeling after watching this series? Yeah, baseball.
Tired? I don't know. Like every single game, just based on the fact that it started like on the Monday for Memorial Day, and then it kind of drifted into Tuesday, the next game. And then the Wednesday game got pushed from 7 p.m. to 1 p.m. to avoid the rain in New York. Every single game felt like, is this really happening right now? Especially because there were just kind of boring baseball games in general. The Mets got blown out for kind of feels like the first time all year on Wednesday as well. It was the most runs they allowed any game this year with 9. It was the first game that I watched where I was like, the Mets absolutely from the middle of this game on have a literal 0.00 chance to win, where we haven't really felt like that much this season. Miami Monday's game, 3 sack flies, counted for all 3 runs in the game. And then Tuesday's game, an offensive explosion in the first inning. You're like, nice, hell yeah, pop the lid off. And then just nothing happened basically the rest. And you wind up having to hang on for dear life in a game you really shouldn't have had to do that for.
Yeah, Adrian Houser had his revenge game, because of course he did. He was throwing 97. Like, get the fuck out of here, Adrian Houser. You were so horrible for us last year, and for him to come in and do that is very poetic. It is exactly what you would expect to happen when the Mets face someone that was dog shit for them and then goes to a really bad team. Luckily, we did get a win there, because, again, didn't deserve to win that game by any means. Pitched really well, didn't hit at all. We'll talk about the hitting problems again. Game 2, it really did feel like they were going to finally wake up a little bit. I'll tell you one thing. Jared Young, a little bit of a ball player. I like his swings a lot. I like his approach a lot. I don't know what his role is going to be on this team for the foreseeable future, but right now is like that left-handed DH spot in this lineup. I like the at-bats, and I like the quality of swings that he's taking.
Yeah, Jared Young is someone that we actually shouted out in the offseason as someone that, like, half tongue-in-cheek, but also half kind of seriously. We were like, might be the starting first baseman. We don't know, guys. And there actually is some interesting data on him if he actually is a starting first baseman. He just hits the ball in the air and hard a lot, which is more than we can say for a lot of these players on the Mets roster right now. So it's nice to see him hit the ball hard and hit it in the air. He was doing it at AAA. He did it for a brief time with the Cubs a few years ago. He did it with the Cardinals in minor leagues 2 years ago. He did it with the Kiwan Heroes last year. Like, that's something that he has in his bag. Hit the ball in the air and hit the ball hard. So it's kind of interesting to see if he can get these consistent plate appearances, at least until Jesse Winker's back, because I do like having that left-handed thump off the bench. That's something this Mets roster has lacked since Winker went down. But that's something that's fun. Also, just before we breeze past Monday, Tyrone Taylor, thank God for him for starting that rally and actually hitting the double to score the winning run and get us win that game, because losing that game would have felt horrible.
Did you hear the soundbite of how Lindor called Tyrone Taylor to his hotel room to help him fix something with his swing? And since then, Tyrone Taylor's been scalding hot.
Really?
Yeah, apparently Lindor saw something, told him about it. He fixed it, and he's been hitting the ball a lot better, which is nice to see. Kind of builds into what we're going to talk about a little bit later as well, maybe.
Yeah, maybe call Soto into your hotel room and fix his swing or something. But also, it was a Clay Holmes game where he didn't really have much, but he kind of just gutted through. Jose Budo kept it close, coming into a bases-loaded jam. After Holmes might have gotten a little squeeze on a couple of calls that were towards the end of his outing there, that last batter, but Budo came in. Now he's still better, but still not good. I don't know. We're getting to a spot where this could be the last weekend of Budo. You think that? because with Paul Blackburn coming back, I mean, maybe not. They're probably not going to cut him because they do have guys in the bullpen with options. But a roster that has both Budo and Blackburn, it feels to me like we're getting tight there.
Yeah, no, definitely getting tight. I mean, they might just send down McGill. It's not like he pitched well in game 2.
Yo, but they want 6 starting pitchers, they said, for this road trip. They want to do a 6-man rotation next week.
Okay,
So we're gonna send down Brandon Waddell because, I mean, shout out Brandon Waddell, 94 pitches out of the bullpen on Wednesday to soak it all up during the blowout. But he's going down. I'm sure reliever comes up briefly, but they are penciling in Blackburn to come back and pitch during the Dodgers series. So I guess whoever comes up then goes back down for Blackburn when they throw a couple more innings.
Yeah, I'm looking at the guys with options right now. Like Waddell obviously is going down. Kranick could be a guy that goes down again. I wouldn't be surprised about that if they use him in like long relief and then send him down for a week or so. Brazoban has options. Reed Garrett has options. Those are the only bullpen arms that still have options. And I don't think you can send down any hitters to bring up a pitcher. So yeah, it's a weird bullpen thing. I don't think they should because he looks all right, but maybe that's the Jose Castillo DFA, but then we have no lefties.
Yeah, because also we cut Genesis Cabrera last week to DFA, so I guess he's going through waivers. I'm not sure if anybody's picked him up yet. Someone might have by the time you guys listen. Dedniel is still down there too. Maybe he comes up. It's going to be interesting. This bullpen is pretty taxed right now. Now we're going to play 10 games in 10 days with 4 of them coming against the Dodgers and 3 of them coming in Coors Field, which is a little unfortunate, but it's going to be some good manicuring. This comes back and now talking about Tuesday a little bit. Again, we're not going to talk about these games individually because I don't even think any of them warrant that. But
no.
Tuesday, you get the early offense explosion. You're like, nice, pop the lid off. Bat around the first inning against Jonathan Cannon, who really doesn't have much to speak of. I always find a way to shine a little bit of positivity on basically every single pitcher in the league. Jonathan Cannon struggled to do that, but he did kind of gut his way into the 6th inning of this game. The Mets were all over him early, and like everyone's hitting the ball hard. That ridiculous play that Soto lost the base head on in the first inning, that pissed me off tremendously. But even before digressing into some of this other stuff, we're going to spend a lot of time on that. For Tyler McGill to be in the situation he was in, entering that 6th inning with about 75 pitches and a 3-run lead on the Chicago White Sox, and to just miss and miss and miss and miss, especially on his slider, which was a pitch that was actually hitting spots with earlier in the game, and then not getting his fastballs in the right spot. The changeup was floating again. Curveballs that were just, he wasn't getting on top of many of them at all. It's just, at some point, like, can you throw some strikes? Someone was in my Twitter mentions talking about, like, 'cause this McGill thing keeps happening and happening and happening every single time. He always gets deeper into these games, and then the strike throwing kind of goes away. The execution lacks. Could it be a conditioning thing with Tyler McGill, where maybe he does? We've always alluded to the adrenaline thing with Tyler McGill early in seasons, which is how this weird April versus May Tyler McGill narrative has kind of sprouted out from. Is there something that he's not repeating as he gets deeper in the game? There's something he's not as consistent with? Like, why, when he gets to that 70, 80 pitch mark, everything just seems to fall apart? Like, is it mental? Is it physical? It's almost too deep in this for this to continue to be mental. Like, I'm almost trying to drift back to it being physical.
Like, does he have a vitamin deficiency? Like, how is he?
Dehydration?
Is he dehydrated? He's not drinking enough water? Is he not stretched? Like, it's so frustrating to watch him pitch again. We thought the texts were legit, and the texts are so back in the worst way possible. He's just making it annoying to watch right now. He's a very frustrating pitcher to watch go out on the mound and struggle to get through 6 innings against the Chicago White Sox of all teams. It's like, this is actually one of those teams we want them to swing the bat because they're not going to make good contact.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Also, it's just like if you have a multiple run lead and this is a time where the bullpen is a bit taxed, like that's the kind of situation that happens in the game on Tuesday that bleeds into the game on Wednesday. You have a less likely of a chance to come back on Wednesday because you're going to wind up counting on Brandon Waddell to throw you 90 pitches instead of being able to dip back into some capable relievers. Like the fact that Diaz going into Tuesday's game had pitched 3 out of 4 days. So you knew you were going to be leaning on Garrett. I think Brazoban's also pitching 3 out of 4 days. So you were going to get into a spot where you kind of needed Tyler McGill to pitch as much as possible, and you needed the guys like Buto and Jose Castillo to get you to Reed Garrett to hopefully be your closer in that game. And even Garrett has thrown an inning in 2/3. And it all just comes back to where if Tyler McGill can give you, if he could have gone 7 innings, then you could probably use some relatively more high leverage relievers when it's only a 2-run game, still in the middle innings on Wednesday. And the game doesn't wind up getting as out of hand as it did because the White Sox kept tacking on and tacking on and tacking on. And that's not to the fault. I mean, again, like I guess that technically is in air quotes to the fault of Brandon Waddell, but that Brandon Waddell's just here to eat those innings. Like Brandon Waddell's not really here to. I can't really fault him for giving up some runs in the middle innings against the White Sox team that was swinging it well in that game. But it's just you don't afford yourself those same opportunities to get back in a game like this against a White Sox team that blows games religiously when you have to burn extra players in your bullpen. You didn't really have to burn on Tuesday because Tyler McGill couldn't give you the extra inning in the third.
Yeah, and Griffin Canning also was just so off
Didn't
today
have
too.
it. Didn't. Yeah,
I think we could say from the start, Mets just did not come ready to play in Game 3. It seemed like the 1 o'clock start time was a surprise to them almost, like they weren't prepared for that.
Yeah, the defense was bad. They didn't really hit the ball very well. This is the first game I can remember in a long time where Juan Soto actually didn't even hit the ball hard because he still hits the ball hard most of his at-bats, but somehow none of them dropped for hits. And then today was just dribbler to first base. I had Yankee fans texting me because, of course, they don't care about the Mets at all. They're not paying attention to the Mets. They're texting me about Soto shuffling going 0 for 5. They're like, oh, bro, I really thought him shuffling was going to get him a hit. I was like, I didn't know you were watching the Mets at 1 o'clock game in the afternoon. Like, don't you
guys have work?
Yeah, well, you go back to work. Start clicking the keys a little bit more. But it's just it was a frustrating game to be a part of, but also one we could just kind of flush and not care about immediately after.
Totally, yeah. The positive about being a 1 o'clock game and having the next day off is I'm like, oh man, I really don't have to think about it. As soon as this podcast's over, I will not think about that Chicago White Sox game ever again in my life.
Yeah, I listened to the end of the game with Howie because I watched the first couple innings and I was like, I'm going to leave and do some errands. Like, I'm just going to listen to the radio, maybe change luck a little bit. It didn't change luck at all. It made the luck a little bit worse actually because the White Sox scored every single inning at the end of this game, 6, 7, 8. They tacked on extra runs, but Howie dropped a great Casey Stengel quote where the math doesn't really work out anymore. It didn't even really work out then, but it's still just it's Casey Stengel, so it's worth it. So let's say you break up the Major League season. There's 50 games you know you're going to win. There's 50 games you know you're going to lose. The middle 50, those are the ones that actually make or break the whole season, which again doesn't make sense now because we won 62. Didn't make sense then because they had 154, so Casey was 4 games short. But this was just one of those 50 games that you were going to lose every single time you played it, and you just tip your cap and you walk out the door.
No, yeah, it's true. I mean, the best teams in baseball lose 60 times. You have a fantastic year if you lose 60 out of 162 games. You're like, wow, what a season! One of the all-time greats.
It was great fodder for the Mets prospect people on Twitter, though, who were championing Mike Vassell 3 years ago because he came in, just blew the Mets away, just blazing down.
Just dominating.
He gave like a little wink to Brett Baty when he struck him out. Apparently, he gave like a little look to Keith Rad in the booth because they were at Brooklyn together and they're very friendly, Mike Vassell and Keith Rad. So he definitely was pitching a little bit extra. I honestly can't be mad. Good for him.
Yeah, no, for sure. I also don't think he was mad either because the Mets just didn't protect him. It's not like the Mets were like, we don't want you anymore. It was one of the things like, if someone takes you, like, good luck.
Yeah, it was worse than that because the Phillies took him and cut him, and then the Rays took him after being cut, DFA'd him, but then they traded him. The White Sox claimed him off that. So he actually had to go back to Port St. Lucie in between that because he was going to go back to the Mets because after the Phillies and the Rays, I guess the Rays traded for him then. So he was like, all right, now the team actually cut me. Yes, now I'm going back to the Mets. And between him going back to the Mets, while that was happening, he got sent to the White Sox. He was like, all right. But he was throwing, all of his pitches were up like 2 ticks across the board.
Yeah, no, it definitely had a little extra juice for sure.
A little juice.
FT fam, you might have a boring, old, crusty, unpretty razor, and it might be expensive. So, AJ, should they consider another option?
Look how cool this is. Look at the color scheme. Look at it. Little sheath to hide the blades when you travel. Works great. I've been using this for a couple weeks now on Harry's. Clean, no bumps, no cuts. Works great. And you know the best part? It's a great price, especially if you use the foul territory code, Scott.
That's right. Harrys.com/foul. Guess what? You can also get yourself a no-risk trial. So if you don't like your shave, no worries. It's on Harry's. They're not worried about it. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally, the trial set is $10. But right now, you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. Use the exclusive link, harrys.com/foul, for a $6 trial set.
But again, this all comes down to, which is what's been the problem for the last couple weeks now, hitting problems, runners in scoring position, Mets lack thereof, clutch hitting. And David Stearns gave us a little RISP quote. James, fill in the people what he said.
It was a good one. So I think it was Gary actually that asked him in his media availability, like, what do you see with this team right now, runs in scoring position? Like, how do you evaluate a team that's struggling with runs in scoring position? And David Stearns kind of poetically, very blatantly was like, I don't ever look at batting average, run in scoring position. He said, I don't think that's a relevant stat. He's like, and it was kind of the thing that we echo a lot of times in this podcast, that like, we're happy that David Stearns runs the team in this way now, where it's more process-based stuff rather than results-based stuff. So what he is looking at is the fact that there are, in those situations, are players changing their approach? Is your approach worsening? Is your approach improving? It's about the process that's happening with runner scoring position rather than the actual result. Because if you put a good swing on a ball on a 3-1 pitch and it just finds a glove, that's a 0 batting average, but it might be a really great. I mean, it's a bad outcome, but it's a really good process to get to a bad outcome. So you continue to have that positive process. Things should still be happening. And Stearns was like, I do think those things are still happening. It's frustrating right now because I do think that results will come. Mark Vientos said the same thing after the game. He's like, I know it feels bad right now, but there's just no way it can remain this bad. And that's kind of been our mantra through this whole weird first third of the season struggle.
Yeah, the anti-Eric Chavez stuff, the Mets hitting approach being broken, I think that's still very much up for debate. It's weird, though, because the Mets are 7th in on-base percentage in Major League Baseball. That's great. In terms of WRC+, they're 8th. In terms of average, they're a little bit lower down at 14th. But, all the hitting numbers, as bad as it's been, are actually still pretty good, considering how bad it does feel and considering how unclutched this team feels at times. So we wanted to take a deeper look and find out, why is this team just not clicking? What's wrong? What's different with guys from the prior years? What's going on with the approach? What's happening? Because watching these games every single day, that's kind of the question I think every Met fan has after watching a Mets game is what is going on? You can't really put your finger on it.
Yeah, we want to separate out the way we're going to talk about this. First by doing full team stuff overview, and then doing a little bit more player by player stuff. So I do think, where do you want to start? Teams or players?
Let's start with the team. Let's start with the team overall. Because then I think once we know the context of the team, you can now start to dive into where this is happening and who's really more responsible for why the team's numbers look like this. So there's a bunch of new info again on Baseball Savant, shout out them, with bat tracking data and pitch interception point. And I have the good and the bad right now. I went through all these stats, compared them to every single team in Major League Baseball. I got 3 good things, and I've got 6 bad things right now for the Mets in terms of that data, at least the way that I interpret it. I could be wrong. I definitely could be wrong. It's very possible, but this is what I feel is good and bad. So on the good, the Mets are 4th in average bat speed in Major League Baseball. Good. We clap for those things. Yes, the team is swinging the bat hard. Love to see that. Is that being carried by Pete Alonso and Juan Soto? For sure. But
and Brett Beatty.
But overall, 4th in bat speed. That's amazing. You swing the bat hard. When you hit the ball, it's going to get hit hard. Love that. They're 3rd in ideal attack angle. Ideal attack angle is anything from 5 to 20 degrees. That's when the bat makes contact with the baseball, when it's going through the zone. What is the attack angle? The higher it is, the more loft you're going to get. You guys kind of understand how that works. They're 3rd in that. 54.5% of the Mets swings are an ideal attack angle. And then 12th in distance off the plate. I don't necessarily know if that is good, but it was just a fun fact where it's okay, the Mets are
how far they're standing?
Yeah, how far they're standing off the plate. I'm just putting that as they're not jamming themselves type thing. They're not extreme in either way.
That to me is a measure of how long your team's arms are compared to the rest of the league.
Well, that's when you look at individual players. There are some guys who are just on top of the plate that are massive. There are some guys that are tiny and stand off the plate. All this tells me is that they're not doing anything extreme there. So we can throw that out the window. That's good. I love that. I don't want extremes in that. The bad. 22nd in swing path tilt. So what this is basically how much loft you're getting on every single swing. Every swing in Major League Baseball is an uppercut. When people are like, oh, the uppercut, it's so bad. Every single baseball swing ever in the entire history of the game has been uppercut. It's physically impossible to hit the baseball well and not uppercut. 32 degrees. Everybody's really close, but that Mets are 22nd there, and all the teams below them in that range, bad offensive teams for the most part, don't hit the ball well. They're 23rd in attack angle. This one, to me, is a little more serious in that they're 9 degrees. They're not getting as much loft on the attack as everybody else. So when you look at the teams that hit the most home runs, typically they have a higher attack angle. It's 2-3 degrees difference. It's not the biggest, but just again, conceptualize what the Mets are doing. They're swinging less of a degree up than everybody else. This is the worst one. This is where it gets really, really bad. And this is something that I can't wrap my head around. 30th in attack direction. So this is the horizontal direction the bat is facing when the ball is making contact with it. Mets are dead last, and they technically still do have a 1 degree pull attack direction, but everybody else is significantly more. The Mets are 1 degree, where teams are 8, 9, 6, 7. The Mets are just kind of one of 3 teams with positive degrees opposite field. So they are more than likely, as a team, the attack angle is going to be towards opposite field. Hate that. Don't love that. Not a big fan of that. Want to see them pull the ball a little bit more. Interception point, they're too deep. 22nd. They hit the ball 1.5 inches in front of the plate as a team. Most teams are a lot higher than that. The Mets are towards the back. They're 30th in batter center of mass, 27.6 inches.
Intercept point compared to batter center of mass.
Yes, exactly. And they're 25th in depth in the box at 26.1, which means they're furthest up in the box. They're the 5th team furthest up in the box, which doesn't make any sense to me because the Mets want the ball to get deeper than most teams.
Yes, that means they're standing as close to the pitcher as more so than any other team in the league in full team context. And we talked about the full team context stats last episode in relation to some of these stats before we dove deep. And it is probably not the best analysis to go full team, but it is good to see where we rank relative to most teams because there probably is some type of relative underlying approach, methodology, philosophy with teams. So we like doing the stuff at the top end. We're going to get more granular in a second. But that last one's very weird to me.
Yes.
I would never, ever, ever imagine the Mets being the furthest up in the box as a team on average compared to every team in the league.
25th of third.
25th. Okay.
Yeah. Now, versus the batter center of mass, they're the worst.
Yes. But again, while they're standing further up in the box. That's
Correct.
my point. That to me doesn't make any sense because especially when you look at the Mets' actual batted ball data this year, they still happen to be right in the middle of the pack in terms of hitting the ball to the opposite field, which I'm surprised about. I figured they'd be a much more oppo heavy team. They're about 12th in that. But in terms of their pull rate, they are one of the lowest in the league. They're about 6th lowest. The only teams with the worst pull rate than the Mets are the Marlins, the Brewers, Padres, Giants, Blue Jays, Nationals, then the Mets.
But I'll tell you, you say the Padres, there's like 3 good hitters in that lineup. The rest of them are pretty horrible players.
Yeah. And again, this is all top level full team stuff, but it is kind of easy to see where this stuff is borne out. The fact that it does feel like the Mets aren't getting the full the juice from the squeeze of their quality of contact, because it does feel like very often we're hitting the ball hard. We are very often hitting the ball in the air, but for some reason there's something that happens between that contact point and the ball hitting the outfield grass that we're not really getting the most out of at this moment.
The weather is warming up, and with that being said, you need to check out what Rowback is bringing to the table. If you're a golfer, especially, and you're looking for golf shirts that just have the perfect style and also are soft, they're lightweight, and perfect for the summertime, Rowback is the spot. Of course, FT's hooking you up with a code for 20% off at rowback.com. That's FOUL on RHOBACK.com for 20% off all shorts, hoodies, polos, and more.
And I think one of the reasons why is when people talk about the Mets runners in scoring position, they talk about Soto not swinging the bat. They talk about this and that. I wanted to see, especially from watching the games, Mets run value by player on fastballs in the heart of the zone. And breaking news, guys, the Mets take so many fucking fastballs down the middle. It's absolutely insane. And they do almost nothing with them. So you can calculate run value on pitches in the heart of the zone. You can break it down even more by just fastballs. And the Mets have a bunch of guys towards the bottom of the league in terms of run value on fastballs in the heart of the zone, which is almost unfathomable to me. Ready for this? Nimmo, -5. Lindor, -5. Alonso, -4. Vientos, -2. Torrens, -2. Soto, -1. There was one player with a positive, Brett Beatty, +2.
I mean, because this is also kind of comes into a lot of what we've talked about before, where a lot of things that we're talking about are difficult for players to succeed with. Letting the ball travel more. Usually you want to go out and get the ball out in front of you. But someone like Beatty, that seems to be the perfect approach for him, which again, that's kind of the irony of this. That's why he's been the guy that's kind of been a driving force in his offense for like 3 weeks now, which I can't even believe I'm saying that after the way the first month of the season went. But that kind of is where this team is at. So now, looking at full team stuff, I wanted to go through and look at individual players. I wanted to see what's different with guys, especially relative to last year, even going back to 2023 for some guys. Why are some things working? Why are some things not? I think, of course, I got to start with Juan Soto. That's the guy that I think everyone wants to hear about. What's different with Juan Soto and why Juan Soto isn't able to make contact the same way he has been in the past. The flip side of that is that he is making contact in a similar way he has in the past. All of his expected stats are amazing. His hard hit rate's near the top of the league. All that stuff's amazing. It's like all that stuff's incredible. The baseball savant screenshot is probably going around a little bit too much these days. I really do hate that lollipop screenshot, but it does tell you that right now Juan Soto is probably getting quite unlucky based relative to his quality of contact and what his stats look like at the moment. But then you see something with Juan Soto where it feels like every single at bat he just hits a ground ball in the triangle between the pitcher, the first baseman, and the second baseman. You're like, why the fuck does this keep happening? Please let this stop happening. But then his pull ground ball rate is basically the same as it's been for the last 3 years. So okay, that's fine. Then the other thing that happens with Juan Soto, you're like, he never swings. He has to swing more. Why isn't he swinging? That part is true. I tweeted it out today. Juan Soto so far this year actually does have the second lowest swing rate in all of baseball. The only person who swings less often than Juan Soto is, ironically, Chase Meidroth, who one's ironic because we just played him, and two, because his name is Chase, and he doesn't swing that much. I thought that was kind of funny. Someone pointed that out in the replies to that tweet. And then the other guys on that list are kind of some guys you'd expect, and some guys I think are kind of funny and shocking, where it's Chase Madroth, Juan Soto, Jonah Bride, Alex Call, Will Smith, Alex Verdugo, Marcell Ozuna, Kyle Schwarber, Mookie Betts, Trent Grisham. Grisham, Betts, those are guys, Schwarber, those are guys who are famous for the low swing rates. Then you have guys on there like, Madroth, Bride, Call, Verdugo, guys who don't have a lot of power. Usually, if you don't have a lot of power, it behooves you to swing less often because you can work deeper counts. You can find other ways to help your team. Madroth is amazing at that. I was impressed with him watching him this series. Guy's a fucking pest. Like, he's all over the place. I just picked him up in our Chaos League because his pitches per plate appearance is one of the highest in the league right now. It was a big move by me. But it's so when you see that, you're like, all right, it's weird, and I guess it's bad, but it's not different than what he's done his entire career. He's got a 34% swing rate right now. Last year it was like 36. It's a pretty nominal difference right there in terms of swing rate. But then you look at it a little bit deeper, and the thing that's down more than the actual swing rate is his zone swing rate, which echoes what you're talking about the fastballs, especially now when you times that with the fact that he's actually seeing more pitches in the heart of the zone this season.
Well, and this is another thing, too, is that like when looking at Juan Soto's, again, run value on just straight up pitches in the heart of the zone, he has the worst on the Mets, -7. Now, part of that is probably because he's not swinging as much at pitches in the heart of the zone, like you mentioned, with the zone swing rate. So there's a bunch of pitches going in the heart of the zone. He's not swinging at them, which gives him negative run value. Last year with the Yankees, I hate to bring this one up here, but last year with the Yankees on pitches in the heart of the zone, he had a 10 run value. This year he has -7. That is a 17 run difference between Juan Soto this year and last year on pitches in the heart of the zone. He had 14 runs value last year on 4-seam fastballs in the heart of the zone. He's just not, and maybe this is part of the comfortability of just adjusting and whatever it is, being mental right now. It's a lot of mental stuff with him is what we've kind of broke this down to with Juan Soto, but he is not addressing the pitches properly that he should be hitting at right now.
And also, just to clarify for you guys as well, if it's the first time you're hearing about a stat like run value. Run value is a cumulative stat. Run value adds up or decreases as you go through the season. Something like RBIs or runs scored, where it's like to have that low of a run value this early in the season, that means you're doing very bad in that spot, where something like 10 last year makes sense for players who are some of the best players in the league. Yes. You'll see the really good hitters accumulate that much run value in a season. So then the one thing that comes back to Soto that might not be mental, might be a little bit physical, is the bat speed thing. We've seen the bat speed going around. We saw Saris talk about it on Foul Territory. We've mentioned it the last few episodes. And the problem with Soto is he's not getting that same peak consistent bat speed he's had the last few years, where it was just much more consistency in high speed swings, where this year it's a little bit more lumpy. It's a little bit more of some shorter swings, some harder swings, but not getting that peak consistency the same way. And a big reason that his bat speed's down in general, and that's happening, is that his swing is shorter than last year. It's about 3 or 4 inches shorter than last season. Because it was 7.3 last year, now it's 7.6 last year. No, 7.3 last year, now 7.0 this year. And the reason that a shorter swing will decrease your bat speed, because the bat speed is measured at your point of contact. So if you have more time to come through the zone, your bat is faster. So those couple of inches right there where he's making contact deeper in the box, which we've mentioned, about a couple inches deeper in the box now, or behind past the front of the plate, less time to build up that swing is driving his bat speed down. And that's why he's not accessing that same high-level power that we're seeing, where that ball, like on Saturday against the Dodgers, he smokes the ball in the middle of the plate. So it probably should have been 10 or 15 rows back. It was a 65-mile-an-hour swing rather than something like a 75, 78, 79, 80-mile-an-hour swing. It clanks off the wall, and that's what happens. But also it's funny that right now he has the same intercept point that he had in 2023, but with a shorter swing. So this tells me it comes down to a combination of mechanics and mentals with Juan Soto.
Yes.
Because something that was a big deal for him heading into last year, people were like, is Juan Soto going to be able to properly utilize the benefits that Yankee Stadium can give him by pulling his fly balls? Because Juan Soto notoriously never really pulled his fly balls for as much power as he accessed in game, because he was that much of a freak. And a big reason he never did that was because he had the long swing and the deep intercept point. That was something that he's able to marry, something like Brett Beatty's doing right now, that almost no other player in baseball can do. And that's what made him special. And last year, he had by far the highest pulled fly ball rate of his career. It was up over 19%. Before that, 13% was the highest in his career. This year, it's down to 11%, which is the same as it was in 2023. So this, to me, seems like a lot of mechanical push and pull that's leading to frustration, where he can't find the swing mechanics that he used to have because of things he probably changed last year and is trying to work through them out now. Maybe he should just go back to the swing from last year and just start to pull the fly balls again. Like, there probably is something that's going on, and it does seem to be affecting him mentally, because that is something that he can't really pull himself out of. And right now, he is in his worst slump of the season, going 7 for his last 58. But the quality of contact is still objectively good. It's all that to say, it's very strange. And it does seem like there's a couple teeny tiny little tweaks inside of this that can possibly unlock him. But I don't know when or where those come from.
Yeah, and when you add leverage into the scenario, by the way, here too, because that's one thing you can do as well, contextualize leverage. On pitches in the heart of the zone, you can add another -5 to what his run value is on pitches in the heart of the zone, -12 when leverage is contextualized. So that all this tells me with Juan Soto is he's got to fucking relax. Go back to playing baseball the way you have. Like it seems like he's trying, and this probably has to do with the contract and the new team and the added pressures of that are coming along with it, and all the nonsense that comes with being the highest paid athlete ever in sports history. It seems like he's just not playing baseball the way he is used to. It seems like he's not playing baseball the way he's comfortable. Everything tells me there's so much indecision, which is something that Juan Soto really never had before in his career. He's never been an indecisive player. He's always been patient, but that should not be confused with indecisiveness, which is what it feels like right now. Also, his shoulder is flying out like crazy.
Yeah, and that's why he's not getting to the same power on the outside to drive that ball to the opposite field like he always has. And that's also why he continues to get jammed, I feel like, on pitches on the inside. It's just not, it comes back to mechanics with him, which is funny. The guy like Juan Soto is struggling with his mechanics that much. Also, there's a reason that we do like to use run value for stats in situations like this, because it takes both of your swings and your takes into account. Where if you're taking a pitch in the middle of the plate, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's a hittable pitch that you've taken. That's why we like doing that. I want to move on and talk about Pete Alonso now.
Go for it. Yeah.
Pete is the guy that is playing well. His stats are amazing this year. He has dipped across, of course, from being God mode for the first few weeks of the season, month of the season, but he has still been, for sure, the most productive hitter on this team through and through from the season. And the ironic thing about talking about Pete and talking about Soto, we're going to talk about Lindor, Nimmo, Vientos after this, all the same shit that we're talking about happened to Pete last year, where last year's swing got a little bit shorter. His bat speed went down a little bit. He was letting the ball travel a few more inches deeper than he ever had in his career. But also at the same time, Pete is one of the few guys on this team who consistently hits the ball out in front and just, for lack of a better term, smacks the shit out of it. So then somehow this year he shortened the swing again, but is actually generating more bat speed, which to me, just seeing that raw data, that feels like a medical marvel. It seems to me like there's something that's happened to Pete Alonso that's really kind of indescribable this second, and he has a much higher rate of swings over 80 miles an hour than he did last year, which is even past the fast swing rate. That's like the God mode swing rate. But I think you figured out some more stuff on this while we were prepping for this, right?
Yeah, so we joked last episode or 2 episodes ago how we'd be completely out on Eric Chavez if we found out Pete had outside hitting help this offseason. And shout out to who sent you the DM on Instagram, James?
Just Kevin. Shout out Kevin.
Shout out Kevin. He sent us a DM and he's like, I found a video where Pete Alonso's got an outside hitting coach. I don't know how he found it. It's on this channel called Creative Juice that has 35 subscribers. The video is unbelievably highly produced for 800 views over a month. I don't know how this video exists. I don't know why it was made. Diesel optimizations, like where Pete, Bader, Minaya, a bunch of guys were working out this offseason, which is also funny because Pete and Bader were the Diesel brothers, I believe, at Florida. Yeah. So that's a weird connection there too. But Pete
it's probably one of their friends or teammates or something, honestly.
Probably is. Pete's been working with someone in the offseason, and that's not out of the norm. Players during the offseason do their own thing. But one thing that not all players do is make tweaks to their swings in the offseason. And one of the things that they were really, really highlighting in this video about Pete is the biomechanical work. And one, how they were like, Pete is a marvel at the plate. It doesn't really make sense how quickly he can get his hands through the zone and still hit the ball out in front like he does. They were breaking it down. They were using the pressurized plates. They were talking about how normally this is something that people would need to work on. Like they'd have to focus on these areas for 6 weeks every single day, taking hundreds of swings. Pete just does it naturally. It's bizarre. But they were working on different things with his trigger, with his lower half, with his arms, this and that. And they were like, overall, they made some adjustments to his swing. They saw some things that they didn't necessarily like last year. They wanted him to get back to the hitter that he was. Swing the bat hard. You swing the bat hard, you're going to have good things happen. And what do you know? Pete's swinging the bat hard and good things are happening.
And at the same time, he is still managing to get the ball out in front. His pitch recognition is much better. He's the guy that's kind of like the saving grace for this team. So that was a bit of a damning thing that we found out. And again, it's not abnormal for players to seek help outside the organization. But for a guy like Pete, who just had his worst year of his career, seemingly listening to the team that he's been with for a very long time, it probably is a bit telling that now he's gone externally and hit his stride. Now I want to move on to the next guy. This is shockingly, when I went through this research, the guy I have left this being the most concerned about, and I'm not happy about that, and I can't believe why. But actually, it's Francisco Lindor.
Really?
Francisco Lindor is the guy whose bat speed in this team is down significantly from last year. Where last year, his bat speed went up from 2023, and he got to more power. in game. We just took the things he did in the second half last year at the plate were mesmerizing. It was incredible. But to see that little like down, up, down, that to me says that there could be some. I'm sure he trains it. I'm sure Francisco Lindor trains his bat speed from both sides of the plate. But as someone who's now 31 years old, it's not abnormal for that to start to go down. You can start to see less bat speed. That makes sense. You're less physically apt than you were when you were in your mid-20s, and you're exiting the prime of your career. And the thing that scares me the most about Lindor is that this bat speed has gone down, especially from his right side. And it's gone down mostly in the fact of he's not hitting his peak as much. He swings over 81, 82 miles an hour. But it's the consistency of his swings are way down. There's this... It's still a small sample of swings from the right side this year, but it's kind of become all over the place in his swing, his bat speed distribution from the right side. And that's not something that's great. That to me also tells me something that could definitely be worked out with a small sample. But that to me just feels like the indecision that we're talking about. That to me feels like some pitch recognition issues, which has never been something he's bad at, also never something he's great at. The swing is also from both sides. It's shorter and it's a lot slower. It's a little shorter and a lot slower. So that just to me feels like make it a little shorter, try to combat aging, but then being a lot slower. It's slower than the shortness should be making it right now.
And I wonder if this comes back to a team organizational thought that we saw Pete have a little bit last year, the overvaluing of not swinging and missing, the overvaluing of putting the ball in play. And maybe we're wrong in saying that this is being overvalued by this team. We could be definitely wrong here, but you mentioned Lindor's swing speed down. We heard Vinny Pasquantino on our MLB Network talk with Mark DeRosa about swing speed and how he's a guy who gets very caught in between because he knows the benefits of when he swings the bat harder. And he can see when he makes the contact, he's hitting the ball better. But the bat's in the zone less, and it causes him to swing and miss a lot more. And baseball's a long season, and when you swing and miss that much, sometimes mentally, that fucks with you too. You look at Lindor's whiff rates this year on every single pitch, they're way down. Positively. Like he's whiffing 17% of the time against fastballs. It was 20% last year. Against off speed, it was 24 last year. This year, it's 17%. Again, smaller samples, but maybe there's a conscious effort as an organization. Part of the reason why maybe the bat speeds are down for guys like Soto and Lindor to cut down on the swing and miss because they want to put the ball in play more. And Lindor's hitting way more grounders this year. The most ground balls he's hit in his entire career, 47% of the balls that he's putting in play are ground balls. He's hitting the ball way less in the air, 53%. That is, I also believe, the lowest of his career since 2016. There is this weird thing going on, and it does kind of build into the shorter swing. You're not going to hit the ball in the air as much when you have the shorter swing. That's going to affect your attack angle. That's going to affect your attack ideal tilt that's going on because your swing is shorter, so there's not going to be as much tilt. These are all little things that maybe don't matter as much as we're making it out to seem, but I do think it's interesting to note that there are some changes going on with guys after they had some great years in 2024.
Yeah, but the one change that didn't happen with Lindor this year is that, similar to Pete, he brought his intercept point, his contact point, deeper from 2 years ago compared to last season. But then he was able to marry it, which was still well above average bat speed, or at least not well above, fairly above average bat speed last season, especially from the right side, where he's kind of always been famous for taking his daddy hacks from the right side. That's where Francisco Lindor just tees off. So it was disappointing, frustrating to see that, because again, when you see that married with the age, that's where the fear comes in. That's why there's so much less fear about a guy like Juan Soto right now. That just seems more mechanical than physical.
Yeah, there's no way for us to know. I really do think it's not an age thing right now with him. I think this is a cut down on the swing and miss, just because the rates have dropped so much that it feels like that's a conscious effort, especially maybe him being a leadoff guy. He was like, I got to put the ball in play so I can get on base. And weirdly enough, he is having the best start of the season that we've ever seen as a Mets player. So that's where this is also very confusing too, because he's not playing bad by any means.
That's the other part too. Like maybe as this season goes on, again, like I said, the small sample kind of irons out and the bat speed bounces back. Like I'm sure if we parse this out for last April, it might not look that different. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We could do that. Well, maybe a future episode. I'll figure that out. Maybe I'll put that in a tweet later this week. But another guy who does seem like has very much traded lots of power for marginally more contact. Another guy where it should be terrified about right now. It's Mark Vientos.
Yes.
There's nothing there anymore. The power is gone. He's not pulling the balls frequently. I like using 90th percentile exit velocity. Baseball Savant started showing it. Also, shout out Robert Orr, Baseball Prospectus, his shiny app that tracks Seager, which is his swing decision metric, tracks it as well, where it takes your 90s. We talk about max exit velocity in this show a lot, which is the hardest you've ever hit a baseball, the single hardest you've ever hit a baseball. That's great. It can show your power potential. But if you kind of lop off the top 10% and you just look at the 90th percentile, so it's your consistent top end exit velocity, not the hardest you've ever hit it, but a little bit below that where you can consistently get to 90. That's something that's also a really good measure of power. It's more predictive and it's a better sample in a similar sample to average exit velocity by a lot. His 90% exit velocity last year was one of the best in the league, Mark Vientos. There was consistent, really hard contact, more hard than most players in the league. Right now, it's below average. It's kind of drifting well below average. It's someone that's not accessing anywhere close to that kind of power. And a very bad combination for Mark Vientos. He has both a long and a slow swing. If you have a long and a slow swing, I don't know how you find a way to fix that, because last year was a long swing, but it was kind of a fast swing. Now it's not either. Now it's not fast. I'm like, if he's not getting bat speed, he's not pulling the ball, he's not hitting it hard, what's the way out of the woods for Mark Vientos?
I don't know. But again, it goes back to this weird theoretical idea that the Mets are having at the plate, where it seems like they are really, really, really focused on making sure they do not swing and miss and that they put the ball in play. And that just feels like the wrong decisions, which is why with runners in scoring position, it feels like every single time we're seeing weak ground balls turn for double plays. It's why we're seeing weak pop-ups. Like you're not getting any juice behind these swings, because it seems like they'd rather make the fielders make a play rather than like be afraid to strike out.
And a guy like Vientos, similar to a lot of players in his team, he's making contact with the ball deeper this year. And having a long and a slow swing, that's not going to help you produce a higher quality of contact.
And again, Brett Beatty can get away with deeper because he swings the bat harder than almost anybody in Major League Baseball, which is an insane sentence to say. But if you swing slow and you swing long and you let the ball get deeper, like the home run he hit in Game 3, he got absolutely fucking torched on that fastball. I don't know how he hit it for a home run. It was an up and in, and he hit it opposite field. He's a strong guy, but he's got to get the ball out in front more. He's got to be more aggressive. He's got to be okay with swinging and missing. Mark Vientos at his best, similarly to like what we were screaming and yelling about all year last year with Pete Alonso, is when he is crushing baseballs, when he is being aggressive at the plate, trying to be a power hitter, not this guy who seems to be caring about contact, which I fucking hate.
Yes, especially because when your carrying trait is power. What made you good last year wasn't contact, it was power. Of course, some people are sitting in their car screaming at me, like, you can't have power if you don't make contact. I get that, but you have to play to your own strengths. And it's part of this also comes back to the fact where it's like, are you making contact? Are you having a deeper intercept point because you're not going right, or because there's an actual methodology and you want that? You know what I mean? That's kind of the push and pull that we won't be able to know because we're not in these rooms. We don't know if this is directive or if it's accidental.
Yeah, and the way that I can rationalize a deeper intercept point is that the Mets prioritize getting on base. Take away the swings now, just an on-base thing, right? You want to get on base.
Sure.
How do you identify pitches best? How do you see what pitch, whether it's a ball or a strike? You let it get deeper. The deeper you let a ball get, the better idea that you're going to know where that pitch actually is ending up in the zone. So maybe that's part of the theorizing for why the Mets are doing this too, is they want to get on base more. So they're trying to let the ball get deep in order to find out whether it's truly a strike before they swing.
Yes, and again, maybe that is it, because maybe for Mark Vientos, he thought the last thing that he had to get past was pitch recognition. So if I can let this ball get a tiny bit deeper and I can know what's coming and I can make better swing decisions, because Mark Vientos did go from last year making very good swing decisions. Right now, he's still making very good swing decisions. That was kind of the thing that helped jump him up a level. But the problem was swing and miss. It was the whiffs. It was missing pitches in the zone. This hasn't helped that, and that's a problem. Brandon was another guy. Of all the players in this group, he has the biggest change in his intercept point, his point of contact. It's 4 inches deeper. That's kind of a legitimate amount of, like, you know, pause, but like that's like a legitimate amount of space of making the ball contact.
4 inches
is
deeper. Big.
Yeah, huge. But he's someone that was getting to the most pull side power of his career last year before the plantar fasciitis kind of cropped up. And I don't really know. Like, he has this big hump in his bat speed distribution, where for some reason there's just so many slow swings that probably are the thing they're pulling down his average bat speed, because these other guys' average bat speed is down. Sadly, it's this entire roster. I don't really like it. I don't really know why.
And we're still fourth, which is crazy.
Yeah, we still have great bat speed team, and we're still winning tons of baseball games, which is kind of funny when we think all about it. All this nitpicking that we're doing is because this is kind of the trials and tribulations of being a team with massive expectations. We don't want to just reach the playoffs. Like, we want to try and go on a run. We want to make some fucking noise. So there's these little tiny approach things that feel like they could be holding this team back when we really get into it. We're seeing it with the Knicks right now. Like, you can be a really good team, but if you have a couple tiny chinks in your armor, when you face the really good teams, like, they're going to figure it out. Like, they're going to put Karl-Anthony Towns on an island, and then what are you going to do? Like, that's it. Like, Juan Soto gets walked, pitch around Pete Alonso. Like, now, what are you going to do with this lineup 5 through 9 to actually get to the next round of the playoffs? Or even get to the playoffs at this point, because it's still a very long season ahead of us. But that is kind of where we're at right now. And also the other guy, we talked about We talked about Francisco Alvarez on Sunday, the note from Jeffrey Paternostro from Baseball Perspectives and the For All You Kids podcast with Jeffrey Seidler. He's just broken at the plate. He's not pulling the ball. He's not getting the ball out in front. He's become a contact guy.
What I put in my notes, I was like, somebody ruined Francisco Alvarez, and I won't stand for it. He was a pull guy last year. In his best season, he was a pull guy. This year, he's 8 degrees opposite field in terms of his attack angle horizontally, which is so fucking stupid. And he also closed his stance by 5 degrees as well. He's basically straight up with the pitcher now. Like, why did we fix anything? I know people haven't been impressed with Alvarez in the past. Remember when he hit 23 home runs that year? Like, that's all I want. Hit 20 home runs. I don't really care what happens. He's playing great defense. He's got elite pop times this year. He's throwing out everybody, which is an incredible, incredible development in his game and his growth. Why did we fuck with the hitting? Like, he was at his best when he's taking daddy hacks, looking to pull the baseball in the air. Now it's like, I want to hit the ball on the ground to the opposite field.
You know what else is frustrating about this is that when he has those great pop times and we're seeing that, you can see how twitchy he is and how much of a physical specimen that he is. And there's like, why are we screwing with the other stuff? Because the bat speed is still good. And this is really going to piss you off. Like, we've basically taken Francisco Alvarez and we've turned him into Gabriel Moreno, one of your favorites. And it's all coming at the point where he's still not making more contact he's not making more contact in the zone. Like, he's making less contact in the zone. Everything has gone in a circle to say that, like, not all of these guys are broken. There's a few guys that we're definitely seeing some negative things with, but at the end of the day...
And we are being nitpicky.
We're being nitpicky because that's what we're going to do when we just ran a boring 2-1 series over the White Sox and we're playing the Rockies next. Like, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to talk about. It's not a lot of fodder at the moment, but we just need to find a way to just fucking twist some of this shit into place and just try to let this lineup get to where we thought it was going to be. Because the pitching is not going to be the best pitching in baseball all season. We keep saying it. It's not going to continue to happen. They've saved our asses through the first third of the season. Now it's time for the offense to be the one that saves our asses.
Yeah, and just for some more contextual stuff, too, with the Mets' approach, heart of the zone, chase rate, all that good stuff. Objectively speaking, they're still doing the right things at the plate, just not hitting the right pitches, like in the heart of the zone, like we mentioned. Like, it's unfathomable how bad the Mets are at fastballs, specifically in the heart of the zone. That pitch doesn't move. Juan Soto might be getting some nasty sliders from lefties. Pete Alonso might see a nasty slider from right-handed pitcher. Like, those are a little more acceptable because the balls are moving. But the fastballs that are straight right down the middle, the fact that we have one player right now with a positive run value on fastballs in the heart of the zone is shocking. But here's where the Mets might think that they're still doing the right thing, is that in terms of chase zone run value, the Mets are absolutely disgustingly elite. There's nobody better in baseball. Juan Soto is number 1 in Major League Baseball in run value in chase at plus 13. Pete Alonso is 4th at plus 11. Francisco Lindor is 19th at plus 9. The list goes on and on. The Mets do not chase at all, which makes this even more confusing because it's like, what do we swing at? We suck in the shadow, but that's really a tough pitch to hit, to be fair. Those are pitcher's pitches when you think about it. And the reason that the heart of the zone, again, is so important, I'm just going to say this again. Ready to hear some of the guys who are at the top of run value in heart of the zone this year?
Yes.
Aaron Judge, of course, plus 22. Kyle Schwarber, plus 14. Seiya Suzuki, plus 12. Corbin Carroll, plus 11. Shohei Ohtani, plus 11. There's a common denominator here. You do damage on pitcher mistakes. And when pitches are in the heart of the zone, those are mistakes you need to capitalize on. The Mets are simply not doing that. And that's probably the difference between them being where we think they should be in terms of offensive team and how good they are in run producing and where they are right now, which is still objectively fine, just could be better.
Yeah, 12th in the league in runs scored, top 10 OPS. That's still a good offense, but the expectation was this, or the hope was that this would be a great offense. That's kind of the last thing that's holding this team back from being a good team to being a great team. That's kind of what this whole thing is. Like, we're having this whole diatribe before the loss on Wednesday. The Mets won 4 games in a row.
Yeah, of course. They're great.
And 5 out of 6.
This is not panic.
In the series.
Don't let this be misconstrued as panic by us. This is one, like you said, the series was so fucking boring. And then we got to talk about the Rockies for 2 minutes afterwards, which is like literally a nightmare. But also, we're baseball freaks and we love like diving into this stuff, and we've done in the past. You guys seem to like it. This to me is super interesting because it's impossible to actually know what's going on in the mind unless you are esteemed journalist Bob Clappish. Apologies to him for coming at him ever. We apologize to Bob Clappish on this podcast, and that's the only person we apologize to. But this is kind of a way almost into their heads where you can be like, okay, what's going on? A little passivity on pitches in the middle of the zone, but also they still are recognizing pitches. So what's happening there? Maybe indecision, maybe indecisiveness. There's a lot going on. And it's just right now, maybe they're not that comfortable. That could be the biggest thing.
I'm still working on getting a media credential. I might at some point this season. I don't know if it's going to happen. Keep keeping the fingers crossed. I want to ask Brandon Nimmo, what is your intercept point 4 inches back, consciously or unconsciously? Like,
Yeah.
is that?
Do you know you're hitting the ball further back this year?
Yeah, just asking these kind of nitty-gritty questions because we can only get so far with looking up this information. And you guys can see how excited Mark was talking about stuff today. I actually got him to prep for the episode today. It's like the third time ever.
Oh,
I can't even believe it, how much data. Mark actually has his own Google sheet, which I, again, simply can't believe it. But it was it's fun to look at this stuff for an episode that was going to be mostly a dry episode because it was playing the worst two teams in the league because fuck. But it's an interesting thing that's happening to this Mets team wide right now, where we should be one of the best lineups in baseball, and we just happen to be like the 10th.
Yeah, we do certain things unbelievably well, and then we do one thing that's probably the easiest thing in baseball to do: hit pitches down the middle. That's like the easiest thing that a hitter could ever get. Pitch down the middle, hit it, and the Mets are like, not for me, not interested.
So we're gonna put a bow on this right now. Do you think that these problem with the Mets at this second is more physical or mental?
Mental. I think it's all
Okay.
mental. I think that
I think so
there's
too.
a weird push and pull right now with what they're trying to do, maybe what they're being told to do, maybe what the team philosophy is. Again, we don't know what Eric Chavez is telling them outside of the quotes that we get from him, which are few and far between. I don't even know if this is an Eric Chavez problem because objectively on paper, the Mets are doing things well. So as much as I'd love to make him the scapegoat, it's probably not his fault, but I will continue to yell and scream that it is until I can't scream anymore. It's just feels like a mental thing right now where Soto's pressing, Nimmo's pressing, Vientos is pressing, even Pete at times is pressing, and he's still having an unbelievable season. Just pitch recognition, being yourselves, being loose. Feels like right now, one of the things that they were so good at the end of last year when they got hot and were on that unbelievable run, that team was so fucking loose. They were unbelievably loose. It looks like they were excited to come to the ballpark every day. It felt like they were playing with their friends. There was a sense of like childhood joy of playing baseball every single day. Like, this is the greatest. I'm not saying that they have a poor attitude this year, but everybody feels a little tight right now, which is crazy because they're playing really good still.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing very fine rather than really good.
Okay,
and I do think that we're seeing Nimmo loosen up. I think that changing up the batting order has helped some things jar a little bit loose. I think it helped Pete get over this like 2-week funk. Be like, I'm the 4 hitter.
I'm 4,
Pete
yeah.
Alonso. I'm the hit 4. And Nimmo just being like, I'm just gonna make some fucking contact. Just spray the ball around the field. If the home runs come, they come. It's just something to get the mentals going. But let's just we have a big series this weekend. I say that without any sarcasm whatsoever because we're playing the Colorado Rockies. They are right now factually the worst team
Ever
in the history of baseball. They're on pace to go 28-145, I believe. I had it in my Twitter thread the other day. I think those don't equal 162. Now I messed up.
Whatever they are, they suck.
What are the numbers? I got the number right now, but they're on pace to be the worst team ever. It's honestly a shame because they're on pace to not let the White Sox be the worst team of all time longer. When that White Sox team deserves to be the worst team of all time because of how bad they were. But somehow, in just 1 year's time, the Rockies have not only matched it, but exceeded it.
Is it crazy to say that it's sadder?
27-145. They're on pace to go 27-145.
Is it crazier to say that it's sadder for them because as much as we don't think this, I think their owner thinks he's actively trying to win baseball games.
Oh, we know he is. I want to shout out Jake Mintz, Cespedes Family Barbecue, writer for Yahoo Sports. He did a great piece a couple weeks ago now about the dysfunction inside the Rockies building. The fact that if you go up and down the people who are working in the organization, you see that people got hired in like 1991, 1992. Like there's people who are still working for the Colorado Rockies in baseball ops and scouting that were there before the team played a sanctioned game. And they've sucked the whole time. For some reason, they've changed nothing. And the saddest part is, well, it's two things, kind of double-edged sword. The irony of it is that they pack that place all the time. We're gonna go Colorado
This season
next
down,
weekend.
big time down this year, but that's
Well, 'cause they're
understandable.
the worst team of all time. But it's like, what? It doesn't behoove me to do it. Also, because they actually spend money. Like a team like the White Sox last year, they like popped that thing off at the studs. They're like, we're going to be bad on purpose. The Rockies are not being bad on purpose. The Rockies are being bad by accident. That makes it much, much sadder.
They're being bad on incompetence because up and down this lineup, up and down this roster, up and down this team, I'm gonna read out some names of guys that have played this year, and you're gonna be shocked. What are pitching matchups though before we get going into that?
All right, pitching matchups before we do that. So Saturday night, 7:10. Amazing. No national games this weekend. We got Gary, Keith, and Ron for all of them.
Hey, you skipped Friday.
At least Gary and Keith. I'm just saying, no national games. I can't imagine what Keith is going to say about this team. It's gonna be generational. But Friday night, David Peterson, Colorado kid, against Kyle Freeland, who always seems to tear up the Mets. Saturday 4:10, the fabled 4:10 start time. Nothing better than a Saturday 4:10 Citi Field. Kodai Senga versus Antonio Senzatella. Also in his career has had a couple of decent starts against the Mets. We also bombed him a few times. And then Sunday matinee 1:40, Clay Holmes versus the rookie Carson Palmquist.
Now I'll tell you this. There's no excuse. It's got to be a sweep. That's where we're starting this. You have to win all 3 games, and you got to win them handedly. These games can't be close with this team. They are putrid bad.
They can be close. To say a game can't be close, as long as a win doesn't really matter. The Rockies have played. Everyone plays close games all the time, like literally all the time. They just lost. The last 3 losses the Rockies have had: 5-4 against the Yankees, 3-1 against the Cubs, 4-3 against the Cubs. To say they can't be close,
all right,
that's ridiculous. The series against the Phillies, they got swept. They beat them. They lost the Phillies 9-3 once, 7-4, 9-5, 2-0. I don't want to hear this can't be close bullshit.
That's what I want.
Poppycock.
That's what I want. I want it to not be close.
That's poppycock. I don't want it to be close either. I want 3 games. I want to score 35 runs at home.
I'm tired of close games.
I want 45 runs in Coors Field. But everything that we're going to say poorly about the Rockies pitching. The lineup isn't horrible.
Yes, it is.
Not by a long shot.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of major league players in this lineup.
You
can get
ish, yeah.
I mean, I think we both like Jordan Beck. Talk about daddy hacks. I don't think anyone in the league swings harder with more aggression than Jordan Beck. He just says, I'm going to just rip every single time from that famous Tennessee team. You love Ezekiel Tovar. I do as well.
I love Ezekiel Tovar.
Ezekiel Tovar is an awesome player.
Hunter Goodman owns the Mets too.
Hunter Goodman's been awesome this season, really breaking through as a very physically impressive catcher, hitting for power, making more contact. Ryan McMahon's still a Major League Baseball player. He's hit like shit this year, but I know he's still a Major League Baseball player. And Brenton Doyle, while he's not hit well this year, he's a lights-out defender in center field. Probably one of the best 3 overall defensive players in baseball.
Yeah, no, he's a lights-out center fielder. They're playing Mickey Moniak every day.
Yeah, then it gets bad.
Nick Martinez, the DH by choice.
Yeah.
Adele Amador might be able to hit the ball harder than me or you. I think that I don't know if he's hit a ball over 95 miles an hour this year. He swings a noodle. On the bench, Jacob Stallings is legitimately one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball statistically this year. That's not even a take.
Bad behind the plate as well.
Yeah, Kyle Farmer is on this team. They were like, Kyle Farmer, opening day second baseman. How could this go wrong? How could we lose games? Orlando Arcia just got picked up by this team.
Just signed him.
Yep, to sit on the bench. They traded Nolan Jones, who has been a little hot and cold, but had a great year in Coors, for Tyler Freeman. Tyler Freeman, who's never been good ever for a second in his life at the major league level. And then this is where we really have some fun. The pitching is like the most chaos pitching I've ever seen in my life. Tell me a little about it. My boy Seth Halverson has not looked good, but it's unfair because he pitches in Coors.
Well, the funny thing is they actually do have a couple decent relievers. Like Halverson, Zach Agnos, and Victor Vodnik. We got guys who throw legit gas. Like Jimmy Hurt gets weird. Like that's something right there. But past that, like the team ERA is 5.73. It's the worst in baseball. It's not even close. Carson Palmquist just got called up. He's been getting picked on the bases. Teams are running on him like crazy.
And he's a lefty too, which that's interesting.
Because I think that this is one of the rare teams where the catchers are affecting the pitchers in a way, like more so than the pitchers and catchers in the run game, where I mean, Hunter Goodman is more of an outfielder by trade. Now he's playing catcher because he's more valuable there. But him and Stallings have been horrible in throwing out base runners. I would like to be aggressive against this team, get on base, steal a bag, just have some fun playing baseball this week.
This is a great team to have some fun playing against. Like, play loose. I want to see Starling Marte steal a base this weekend.
But it does suck because I do feel like that this doesn't help you get loose. Because I feel like there's always the opposite happens when you play these shit teams where you have nothing to gain and everything to lose. Where the expectation is a sweep. And then if you lose one game, it's like, oh, how can we fucking lose a game against the Rockies?
Yeah, no, totally. It's like playing against a younger team when like you had a travel baseball team. Like, oh, we're playing like the same town, but we're playing their B team. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we going up against inferior competition with no actual benefit besides they could beat us? It's again, you got to sweep the series. Just hit. Have a little fun. Juan Soto did shuffle. He finally shuffled.
He didn't even get a hit.
I was going to say, it didn't do anything, so I don't know if that theory works anymore, but maybe he'll feel loose playing against the Rockies and their ass pitching. But of course, we're going to have 2 left-handers on the mound, so that's always fun.
Yeah, send you guys out with some Frankie Peppers.
Gentlemen, this is Frankie Peppers. How you doing? Nice series win. Definitely not the ending we want. I've been saying that a lot recently. Hopefully we could turn that around. But a pretty good series win. And the game on Tuesday was real nice. Some nice timely hitting. We just got to get some more of that. Glad that I got back to all the new people who followed me on Twitter. I appreciate you all hanging out with me there. And you should always support the Mets'd boys, James and Mark, because they're doing the real hard work. I just come on here and one of the kids call it yap. I come on here and yap at them for a little bit. You should support the boys. They're wonderful. All right, James, I hope you're doing well. Let's go Mets. Take care of yourself.
Specifically, James, hope you're doing well. That's nice from Frankie.
Me. Yeah, I'll remember that, Frankie. It's fine.
And also, for you guys out there that are members of the YouTube channel, we're going to do the monthly members-only Q&A. Maybe Thursday, maybe Friday, maybe Monday. We put a post out there on the YouTube channel. So if you guys have a preference there, hit us up. Tell us what day you think is best. But I think right now we're probably leaning to Monday.
Yes, that seems to be the day we are looking at. Also, remember to follow us on Twitter. We're going to be giving away that Howard Johnson jersey courtesy of Auction of Champions. So make sure you check that out over there and follow us at Mets'd on all our social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're so close to 10K. Would love to hit that by the end of the month if that's possible. I don't know if it is, but maybe we'll try. Throw that out there. You can follow James on all social media at
James Schiano.
And I'm Draftneck Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. We will catch you all in the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.